In our headlines on this Monday, February 9th, here in South Korea, members of the Lee Jae-myung administration partake in 3 days of Q&As at the parliament starting today that touch upon a wide range of issues including national security, diplomacy, economy, education and culture. And the South Korean economy remains on its recovery path thanks to a rebound in domestic consumption and in the service industry, according to the latest assessment by the Korea Development Institute. In neighboring Japan, Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is looking to stamp her mark in history as her party garners a 2/3 majority in the lower house snap election. We start with news of a 3-day interpellation of the Lee Jae-myung administration that began on this Monday. For details on this, I have our National Assembly correspondent An Sung-jin live on the line. Sung-jin, welcome. So what is the latest there?
Right, Sunny. Just as you mentioned, the National Assembly this week kicked off 3 days of questioning government officials. The first day of questioning today focuses on politics, diplomacy, unification, and national security, with ministers from relevant government departments appearing before the National Assembly to answer questions. Now, today's session kicked off at 2:20 p.m., and with the session still underway, we are still in the process of hearing these government officials reply to lawmakers. And as anticipated, a fierce battle between the rival parties broke out. The ruling Democratic Party highlighted its credentials as a competent governing party, emphasizing progress on diplomacy, including the APEC Economic Leaders meeting. The main opposition People Power Party challenged the administration over high inflation and exchange rates, questioning the effectiveness of the government's so-called pragmatic diplomacy. The session on Tuesday will focus on the economy, and Wednesday's session is on education, social affairs, and culture, so we will have to keep an eye on how the rest of the sessions will unfold.
Sung-jin, beyond the interpellation, I understand another important item was on the agenda at the plenary session today.
Right. So during today's plenary session, by bipartisan agreement, lawmakers passed a motion that approves the formation of a special committee to discuss measures on the proposed Special Act on Strategic Investment with the U.S. This drafts Korean investment in the United States under a Korea-U.S. Tariff Agreement MOU.
Both negotiating parties made a decision to unite around national interests. I would like to notify the U.S. government that the South Korean National Assembly is discussing the legislation with a strong commitment to swift action while fully adhering to domestic laws.
The committee will consist of 16 members, 8 from the ruling DP, 7 from the main opposition PPP, and 1 from a non-negotiating parliamentary bloc. At least 1 member will be drawn from each of the National Assembly standing committees on political affairs, finance, and startups. Lawmakers look to pass the bill by consensus within a month before the committee mandate expires on March 9th. Now, this move comes as South Korea faces continued tariff pressure from the Trump administration over what he calls stalled legislative efforts related to investment in the U.S. That's all I have for the latest at the National Assembly for the moment.
All right, Sung-jin, thank you for the latest from the Parliament. That was our correspondent An Sung-jin reporting live. Also on the local front, government officials and ruling party lawmakers have called for closer coordination on promoting policies to protect the housing market and to promote trade with the U.S. Our political correspondent Moon Hae-ryun covers Sunday's talks.
South Korea's ruling Democratic Party and the government have pledged tighter coordination and faster legislation as they held the first high-level party government policy coordination meeting of 2026. The meeting took place on Sunday at the Prime Minister's official residence in Seoul, bringing together senior officials from the party, the cabinet and the presidential office to align priorities for President Lee Jae-myung's policy agenda. Democratic Party leader Chung Cheong-rae described 2026 as the starting point of what President Lee has called a great national transformation and leap forward. Key items on the agenda included a special bill to support Korean investment in the United States, which the ruling party says must be handled swiftly, aiming to pass the legislation by early March.
The special bill on investment in the United States must be handled urgently by the National Assembly to protect Korean companies facing uncertainty over the possible reimposition of U.S. tariffs.
Chung said the party plans to move quickly to approve the formation of a special parliamentary committee during Monday's plenary session and push the legislation forward. Another major issue was the planned establishment of a supervisory authority on real estate, aimed at cracking down on illegal practices that distort the housing market and harm ordinary citizens. Prime Minister Kim Min-seok called for a speed battle on legislation, warning that delays to the Special Act on Strategic Investment Cooperation with the U.S. are already affecting follow-up measures in tariff negotiations. On real estate, Kim said normalization of the housing market is essential to shifting the economy towards productive investment, adding that the government plans to establish a supervisory authority on real estate. Presidential Chief of Staff Kang Won-sik also stressed the importance of rapid legislation, urging the National Assembly to speed up the passage of key livelihood-related bills and pledging that the presidential office will also make every effort to move them forward. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, the South Korean economy remains on its recovery path amid a rebound in domestic consumption. This is according to the latest assessment by analysts at the KDI. Our correspondent Kim Do-yeon has more.
South Korea's state-run think tank, the Korea Development Institute, has reaffirmed that the economy is on a recovery path, driven largely by a rebound in domestic consumption and the service sector. In its February Economic Trends report released Monday, the KDI also stated that a moderate increase in production is being maintained. This assessment aligns with the Institute's shift in tone last November when it moved away from diagnosing the economy as sluggish or weak, terms used frequently between May and October of last year, to focusing on improvement. The data backs this optimism. Retail sales in December climbed 1.2% compared to the same period the previous year, continuing an upward trend for the fourth consecutive month. A significant 12.6% jump in passenger vehicle sales helped drive these figures. This also has to do with the recent historic rise in the KOSPI, some analysts say, as the sentiment also goes up.
When the stock market performs well and prices rise, we typically see a wealth effect. As the value of assets held by stock owners increases, we view this as a key factor that stimulates consumption.
Mirroring this consumption, service sector production rose 3.7%, marking 11 straight months of growth. The gains were broad-based with significant increases in wholesale and retail trade, as well as the professional, scientific, and technical sectors. Thanks to this service-led momentum, overall industrial production grew 1.8% in December. However, the recovery is not uniform. The manufacturing sector remains a weak link, contracting by 0.3%. The KDI noted that despite strong demand, semiconductor production was limited by supply constraints, while the auto sector faced headwinds from U.S. tariffs. More concerning is the continued slump in investment. Facility investment plummeted 10.3% in December, the sharpest decline since August 2023. The construction sector also remains in a prolonged downturn, with completed construction projects dropping by nearly 15% in the fourth quarter. Ultimately, while sluggish investment and construction weigh on the outlook, the KDI maintains that improving income conditions from the semiconductor cycle and strong consumer sentiment are supporting the broader economic recovery. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
In neighboring Japan, Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is looking to make her mark in history as her party garners a two-thirds majority in the lower house. Our Lee Seung-jae covers this election result and its broader implications.
Sanae Takaichi and her ruling Liberal Democratic Party saw a landslide victory in Japan's general election on Sunday, securing a powerful supermajority in the country's lower house of parliament. According to results compiled by public broadcaster NHK, the LDP won 316 of the 465 seats in the House of Representatives in Sunday's vote. That is well above the 233 seats needed for a simple majority and marks the first time the party alone has achieved a two-thirds majority in the lower house. Before the election, the LDP held 198 seats. The latest win represents a gain of 118 seats and pushes the party past the two-thirds threshold of 310 seats, giving it significant legislative power. When combined with the 36 seats held by its coalition partner, the Japan Restoration Party, the ruling bloc now controls 352 seats, or about 75% of the chamber. That level of control ensures the coalition can secure all standing committee chair positions and majorities across committees. The supermajority also gives the ruling camp the ability to repass bills in the lower house, even if they are rejected by the upper house, strengthening the government's hand in pushing through legislation. On the policy front, Takaichi has pledged to suspend the 8% sales tax on food for 2 years to ease the burden of rising prices on households. She has also vowed to revise Japan's security and defense policies by December, aiming to strengthen the country's offensive capabilities, lift restrictions on weapons exports, and move further away from Japan's post-war pacifist stance. In addition, Takaichi has been advocating tougher immigration rules, including stricter requirements for foreign property ownership and a cap on the number of foreign residents. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And here in South Korea, President Gapeyong has conveyed his words of congratulations to Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. In a social media post today, he hoped Japan would continue to prosper under Takaichi's leadership amid her coalition's victory in the lower house election. He also called for their two countries to broaden and deepen cooperation based on bilateral trust. And the president added that he looks forward to meeting Prime Minister Takaichi in South Korea soon as part of their back-and-forth summit diplomacy. North Korea is expected to host its ruling party Congress later this month. Our Kim Bo-kyung reports.
North Korea will hold its 9th Key Party Congress in late February, according to the regime's state-run Korean Central News Agency. The decision was made at the meeting of the Political Bureau of the ruling party's Central Committee on Saturday, with a resolution to convene the party Congress in Pyongyang unanimously adopted. A specific date was not given, but it is later than initially expected. The Party Congress is the regime's highest decision-making body, with North Korea being a one-party state where the ruling Workers' Party oversees all state institutions. The 9th Party Congress, the first Party Congress since 2021, is expected to assess the achievements of the past 5 years and outline key domestic and foreign policies for the next 5 years. Eyes are especially on what the regime leader Kim Jong-un might say about South Korea, the U.S., and how he plans to enhance his political status to consolidate his rule further. At Saturday's Politburo meeting, which was presided over by Party Secretary Cho Yong-won under Kim's guidance, members discussed and approved qualifications of delegates to the Party Congress, as well as the composition of the executive body, Presidium, and Secretariat. Kim Jong-un positively evaluated the preparations for the upcoming Congress and reportedly presented principles and specific tasks for its success. Recently, North Korea has been ramping up construction of factories, hospitals, and public service facilities, apparently as evidence of accomplishments in local development projects. Remaining projects are expected to be expedited ahead of the Congress. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
In other news, Defense Minister An Gyubek sat down with his Saudi Arabian counterpart Khalid bin Salman Al Saud in Riyadh on Sunday. During their meeting, the two countries' state-run defense research agencies signed an MOU to lay the foundation for a mutually beneficial and forward-looking partnership. Minister An invited his Saudi counterpart to South Korea, and after thanking the minister for the invitation, the latter also shared hopes for South Korea's experience and technical expertise to help boost Saudi Arabia's defense capabilities. Back here on the local front, 2 warrant officers died after their helicopter crashed in Gapeyong-gun County during training on this Monday. According to the military, the attack helicopter went down at around 11 a.m. and the cause of the crash remains unclear. The two crew members were transported to nearby hospitals but were later declared dead. The Army has halted operations of all AH-1S helicopters following this accident, and a task force has been formed to investigate the incident. Defense Minister An Gyu-baek over in Saudi Arabia received a report and has instructed swift follow-up measures. Progress in the field of robotics is taking place at a rapid pace, and here in South Korea, an annual show sought to share the latest innovations by those seeking to forge the future in this field. Our Kim Jun-hong was there.
Agile, dog-like robots stride along a slippery, snow-covered course. There's no joystick or human control. The robots rely on GPS-based autonomous systems to read their surroundings and decide where to go next, while trying to avoid their rivals and unprogrammed obstacles. A few steps away, the snow becomes a testing ground for disaster response. This drone uses cameras and sensors to detect the location of people stranded in the snow, climbs up steep slopes, and delivers essential survival supplies. Behind every robot are young engineers, students, and researchers. Held annually in Gangwon Province, the Korea Robotics Society annual conference marks its 21st year as the nation's largest robotics gathering. Fueled by AI-driven advances and heavy investment in humanoid robots by global tech giants, this year's conference has drawn around 2,000 aspiring engineers.
We previously focused on building conventional drones and aircraft, but with autonomous navigation and object recognition at core, this competition has expanded our research scope.
The spotlight this year was on artificial intelligence and humanoid robots. Developed by an undergraduate student, this robot turns an ordinary portrait into a caricature.
After I have exaggerated face, I will extract all the lines from the face, like the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, and then I will transmit all the data into the robot.
Using patterns it learned in advance, the AI extracts facial features and sends them to a robot that draws a slightly goofy yet charming caricature. Student-built robots are only one piece of a much larger research landscape. Across the venue, experimental systems and humanoid robots show what the future of robotics might look like.
The key to robotics lies in balancing softness and strength, and I believe Korea is already competitive at a global level. Just as important as building robots are strong component supply chains and commercialization capabilities. But with a solid manufacturing base, I am convinced of Korea's strong growth potential.
With humanoid robots and AI reshaping the industry, young dreamers are taking their first steps toward the next era of robotics. Kim Jun-hong, Arirang News.
Come February 23rd, that is Monday, 2 weeks from today at 8 in the evening Korea Standard Time, reservations for the free tickets to BTS's comeback live show here begin on the website Noel Ticket. A global lucky draw will also be held for those who purchase the group's new album titled Arirang, which will be released on March 20th. Now, earlier, producer DJ Diplo revealed that he had taken part in this album. Moving forward, on March 21st, BTS will put on stage a comeback concert at Gwanghwamun Square, where some 260,000 people are expected to gather. Sijo is a Korean poetic form, and this past weekend, this ancient literature took the global digital stage. Our Chung Hye-rim explains.
The Sejong Cultural Society successfully hosted the second annual World Sijo Poetry Day celebration on February 7th. Broadcast live via YouTube and Facebook, the event showcased Sijo not just as a Korean relic, but as a living, breathing international art form. The event brought together poets and artists from across continents, highlighting the globalization of Sijo. For the opening, Sijo from two Korean masters, Hwangjini Im Jung-hwan and Sijo Chang poetry accompanied by bamboo flute and drum by Yang Sa-eun were performed. The following program featured Sijo written and recited in an array of native tongues. Beyond Korean and English, poets shared works in Hindi, Russian, Vietnamese, German, Isikosa, Portuguese, French, Lingala, and Spanish. These poets did more than translate. They adapted the 3-line, 45-syllable spirit of Sijo into the unique rhythms of their own languages. One of the highlights of the events was interviews with 95-year-old Allegra Silberstein and 91-year-old Marilyn D'Augustin, both of whom discovered a passion for Sijo late in life, proving that artistic growth has no expiration date.
And what's also fascinating about that is that, when you have to think about syllables, carving your language in a certain way, that's very beautiful.
This year's celebration also looked firmly toward the future. AI-generated Sijo songs, Still American and Letter Never Sent, introduced new musical interpretations. Students from Chicago's Taft High School also presented visual artwork, which offered fresh perspectives inspired by the poetry. With its 2026 celebration now concluded, organizers say the event reaffirmed that this form of poetry is not only surviving but continuing to adapt and inspire on the global stage. 정혜림, Arirang News.
Hello and welcome. I am your AI sports correspondent Arirang. This section features AI-generated content and scripts, bringing you the latest news from the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026. Here are our top stories. A 37-year-old veteran on Sunday shattered expectations to claim South Korea's first medal of the 2026 Winter Games. Snowboarder Kim Sang-kyum won a silver medal in the men's parallel giant slalom at Livingno Snow Park. Kim toppled world number 1 Roland Fischler in the quarterfinals before finishing 0.19 seconds behind the gold in the final. This podium finish marks the 400th total Olympic medal for South Korea since 1948. Kim knelt in a deep bow on the podium after securing the nation's second-ever Olympic medal on snow. South Korea's mixed doubles curling team on Monday won a third-round robin match with a dominant performance. The duo of Kim Sun-young and Jung Young-suk defeated Canada with a 9-5 victory at the Cortina Curling Olympic Stadium. Despite an early deficit, the Korean pair executed a 3-point fort and to seize momentum. It's the third consecutive win for the pair. However, a 5-game losing streak at the start of the games has blocked the team's path to the semifinals. High school sensation Yoo Seung-in on Monday ignited medal hopes in her Olympic debut. The teenage prodigy stormed into the women's snowboard big air finals by finishing in 4th place in qualifying. Yoo showed her technical precision, landing a 1,260 mute to lock and a total of 166.50 points. Yoo now enters the Tuesday morning final looking to push for a medal. American skiing icon Lindsey Vonn is recovering tonight after a high-speed crash cut her Olympic return short. The 41-year-old lost control just 13 seconds into her downhill descent on Sunday. Vonn clipped the gate and slammed into the safety nets. She was airlifted to a nearby hospital for surgery on a fractured left leg. The injury ends Vonn's bid to become the oldest alpine Olympic medalist in history. Before we head out, let's look ahead. Appearing now on your screen are the current medal standings and the upcoming schedule for the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026.
Temperatures are finally warming up across the country starting today. A mild westerly breeze moved in, pushing Seoul's daytime temperature to about 5 degrees Celsius, a bit warmer than usual for this time of year. Tomorrow morning will also be much milder than today, sitting around 0 degrees, so the cold will not be too harsh for a while. Even so, the air continues to be very dry. Along the East Coast, strong winds could blow as fast as around 15 meters per second. Please be extra careful as even a small spark could cause a fire. Tomorrow morning, Chuncheon will start off at -6 degrees, Busan at 2 degrees. Daily highs will rise to 4 degrees in Seoul and Chuncheon, 7 degrees in Daejeon and Gwangju. Starting tomorrow morning, rain or snow is forecast in most parts of the country, except the eastern parts of Gangwon-do province, and it should continue into the following morning. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session, so do stay with us. And as always, thank you for now.